Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my week 4 predictions. I said on my review video yesterday I would be threading the needle. I'm actually making great time right now. So we're kind of chilling to chit chat a little bit, which only makes the videos better because I love talking. I love talking. But without saying too much, a like and subscribe and up a comment always helps. Let's get straight into this thing. And what a better way to start it than with my Cardinals. Now, I didn't really go into detail that much about the 49ers game because I kind of had to hurry things up and I could rant about that Cardinals game forever. But honestly, after further inspection of Drew Petzing, Jonathan Gannon, and friends, honestly, I didn't like it at first when Jonathan Gannon came out and said, I think Drew Petzing coached his best game of the year so far, because then it's like, oh, wow, his best game of the year was fucking 13 points. Like, wow, good job. But at the same time, 3 touchdown plays were dropped. And honestly, when push comes to shove, honestly, that is good play calling, because if all 3 of those are caught, that's 21 points right there. Now, one of them was bailed out to a pass interference, which led to 7. So you're still missing out on 14 points. That would have put us at a good old 27 points plus the safety 29. That's a pretty good game. I mean, it's not the best thing ever, but it's definitely what we need. We need to be putting up points like that. That'll win us football games because our defense will hold teams to minimal points. And after all, we only lose by a point to an undefeated 49ers team on the road. I understand they're not even the 49ers anymore. We might as well just change their name to I don't know, just another fucking football team, just change the logo until their team is healthy again. But still, they still have a shitload of talent on the team, even though their stars are, and a lot of their players are hurt. There is still a shit ton of star power on that team, especially on their defense. And we did have to face Nick Bosa for most of the game. I can't believe he tore his ACL. He was walking around on the sidelines and stuff. I thought he just might have pulled something. Dude straight up tore his ACL. That is just crazy. But the Seahawks, lost week 1 against the 49ers, but have since kind of just been walking freely. They kind of got to sleepwalk through that Steelers game thanks to that horrible, horrible play they made on the kickoff that led to free points for the Seahawks. They finally have started to open up the run game, which I'm a little worried we might struggle with. We also seem to get torched by Jackson Smith and Jigba, but our defense has been completely revamped from last year. Will Johnson is most likely back for this game, which will help, which means we've got 2 starting cornerbacks back. Extremely lucky that we have that. And I'm expecting the offense to look a little better. Now, with that being said, both of these teams are extremely defensive. I think the Seahawks, are going to make some big screen passes and some big chunk runs that the Cardinals shouldn't be letting up, and converting some dumb 3rd and longs or even some 4th and longs to keep them in this thing. But I think the Cardinals are actually going to put down some points in this one. I think this is time. Marvin Harrison is getting ripped apart, including by me. He's getting ripped apart live by every person on the internet for dropping passes. I can almost guarantee you he's going to come into this game and he will not drop a pass thrown his way unless it's super contested by the defender. He's not going to drop something wide open. He's going to be a much bigger target this game than he was yesterday. Trey McBride as well. Wasn't super utilized, but expect him to do some work. Trey Benson is taking the keys to the car. James Conner is hurt. Expect Trey Benson to make some big explosive runs at some point in the game, and maybe not. That's kind of just how it is with the running backs. But he's had 2 big runs this season so far, yet we continued to start James Conner, and James Conner wasn't really having that good of a year. It sucks to see what happened to him, and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but maybe this is a blessing for the Cardinals. So now we can actually put some faith in Trey Benson and let him do his work. Let him get going, get more carries and stuff like that. James Conner did not deserve what he got at all, and honestly might be a career-ending injury for him. But, he definitely was not playing like he was playing last year in these first 3 games, and it's almost like he just needed to hand over you needed to let Trey Benson take over responsibility. And Amari DiMercado, even though he dropped a touchdown pass, he is still a very solid running back. He is a very fast running back and a good screen pass catcher. So I feel like the offense is going to open up to more passing game now that you don't have your bruiser run into a wall. Trey Benson isn't really about that. He's about finding the hole and exploding. James Conner is kind of just like get the ball and just beat people up, which was a great thing to have a good running back do. But sometimes it's like, no. Sometimes it's like, no. And the Cardinals need to open up the passing game. And once James Conner got hurt against the 49ers, the playbook opened up. We started throwing the ball. We started looking better until the final drive where we were just continuing to hand the ball off, which was kind of questionable. But ultimately, Zay Jones actually got concussed on that 3rd and 9 drop, which he pretty much held the ball down until he hit the floor, like until he had possession of the ball. But once his body hit the floor, then it sprung free, which makes sense because he literally got concussed on the play. And he will miss this game because of that. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I feel like the Cardinals are also going to get some turnovers. Our defense has been really, really good. Sam Darnold hasn't been like the prettiest in the past about, like getting rid of the ball in time. As long as we, lock up our targets, get on Jackson Smith and Jigba, Will Johnson will most likely be playing on him. So expect a good matchup there. If not, I would assume Will Johnson will take over most responsibility on Jackson Smith and Jigba. But if not, we still have a very good defense that can shut him down. It's a completely different defense that played Seahawks last year versus this year. Completely revamped. I feel like Sam Darnold is going to make mistakes. And I feel like Kyler Murray is in the first half of the year, and he's probably just not going to make mistakes. Vikings at Steelers. The Steelers, they should have lost to the Patriots. Patriots turned the ball over 5 times, and the Steelers are only winning by a touchdown. They blew the game against the Seahawks. They honestly, I say blew. They still could have lost that game straight up to the Seahawks, and they probably would have. And then their only other win is a offensive shootout against the Jets. The Vikings just absolutely trounced the Bengals. I understand it was a backup quarterback, and they also turned the ball over, but that's the difference. The Vikings dominated with as many turnovers as the Bengals gave. Steelers didn't. If the Steelers lose this turnover battle, it's going to be bad, and the Vikings defense is really, really good. They are absolutely locked down, shut down. My headset fell off. That's cool. They are absolutely locked down, shut down, and expect let me try and get this thing back on. All right, expect the Vikings to shut Aaron Rodgers down if the Steelers win this game. I don't know what to think anymore because it's just like you can't fucking predict it, but that's the NFL. I do feel like the Vikings are kind of underrated in just the sense that they have such a good defense. Kind of the same thing as last year. They might win a lot of games, and maybe make a playoff spot, but they probably just won't do anything in the playoffs. Chargers at Giants. Ooh, how I would love to pick the Giants and Cam Scatterby to win this. But I can't because it's Jackson Dart's first start, and the Chargers are probably the best team in the league right now. And, Jackson Dart, I feel like he's going to make some plays and whatnot, but ultimately you're going up against the Chargers. Like, I give them 17 because I feel like Jackson Dart on his first drive is going to take the Giants down the field and score. And then I feel like they're going to get, like, a field goal before halftime or something before the game kind of just turns into Chargers mania. And, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. The Giants aren't very good. They got destroyed week 1 by the Commanders. Barely lost in overtime to the Cowboys, but the Cowboys don't look that good either. And then they got beat up by the Chiefs, and now they play the Chargers. Like, you can expect them to start 0-4. Titans at Texans. There's no way the Texans start off 0-4, right? Right. I do think it's going to be a lot closer because the Titans are also fighting for their first win. And Cam Ward isn't like – he doesn't look like the worst thing ever. It's just the team around him. It needs some extreme needs some real, like, help. That's all there is to it. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, and a bunch of other, mainly just C.J. Stroud, but Nico Collins had a bad fumble against Cam Ward is questionable. That's interesting. I'd assume he'd play, but CJ Stroud, he's got to play better right now. He's been throwing a lot of interceptions, and ultimately it just hasn't been the best season for him. He's got to figure it out. But I think they will get a close win here against the Titans. Commanders at Falcons. Actually, I'm going to stick with the Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons in this one. Listen, Michael Penix had a bad game against the Panthers in just a momentum-filled stadium. It's just like when you watch that game, you just feel like the Panthers had the aura. They had the momentum. The Falcons are returning home to play the Commanders. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is back yet or if it's Marcus Mariota. It just says he's questionable right now. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is questionable. Terry McLaurin is questionable. Doesn't look good for the Commanders. They could get all of them back, but Michael Penix Jr., his only 2 interceptions of the year came against the Panthers. Bijan Robinson is obviously really good. Bijan Robinson is leading the Falcons receiving unit, which doesn't look too good. But the Falcons have a defense this year. And the Commanders, if they still have Marcus Mariota, they torched the Raiders, but the Raiders I don't really think have that crazy of a defense, as well as there was like a pick 6 in that game, or like a scoop and score or punt return. I don't remember which one it was. But the Commanders, I feel like they're going to make mistakes in this game and turnovers, and the Falcons are going to win a close game. I don't feel like that's crazy to say. Saints at Bills. Saints are entering their past first 2-game performance, and they got destroyed by the Seahawks last week. The Bills are not going to stop there. Eagles at Bucks. I'm sorry. I know I'm being a shitter picking against the Eagles and just hating on the Eagles, but the Bucks actually, I think they can win this game. They just, they almost lost to the Jets, almost lost to the Falcons, and then almost lost to the Texans. Like, they're kind of playing into the same shoes as the Eagles in a way. But when push comes to shove, the Tampa Bay offense has looked so much better than the Eagles offense. Emeka Egbuka, Mike Evans. Is Mike Evans even, healthy right now? I feel like I haven't really seen much of him, but Baker Mayfield's questionable. I'm sure he is going to play. Let's be real. It's Baker Mayfield, bro. He's probably going to play. But I'm not too sure if Mike Evans is hurt or not. But also a little update. The Diamondbacks are losing 8-0 right now, so that's pretty cool. They wanted a playoff spot. They're not going to get one after a performance like this. But overall, back to NFL, I think the Buccaneers, especially in their home stadium, it's going to be a momentum-filled game. People love Baker Mayfield. I expect him to make some big plays. And the Eagles will be in this thing, of course, because they're a good football team. But I think the Buccaneers, I had this one in my preseason predictions. I'm pretty sure I had the Bucs winning this one. Anyways, the Rams won. A little bit of a stretch, even though the Rams should have won that game. But this one, I feel like I'm more confident in. Browns at Lions. I don't want to be crazy here, but the Browns have a damn good defense. I feel like you can expect the Lions to have some issues with the Browns. Oops, I just skipped that one, yeah. But I do feel like the Browns could potentially start turning some heads. Start playing better and start turning some heads, maybe by winning a bunch of games and whatnot. I'm kind of a little interested in the Browns right now. They could be a playoff team with how bad their conference is. Panthers at Patriots. I think the Panthers are going to win this one in a high-scoring shootout. Panthers defense does seem to be a little bit better than last year, or actually a lot a bit better. But the Patriots, as long as they're not turning the ball over 5 times, they've been producing offensively. Against the Raiders, it wasn't a good performance, but that was the first game of the year. Then they dropped 33 on the Dolphins. Yes, with a kickoff return, but in return, so did the Dolphins. They had their own kickoff return, but they dropped 33 points in that one. And then only 14 points against the Steelers, but again, they had 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles. If they don't do that 5 times, they're probably going to torch the Steelers. Panthers, first game, didn't really look anything impressive against the Jaguars. That game wasn't a big weather delay, but it just didn't look good for the Panthers at all. Then week 2, it was looking horrible for them, but they managed to pull some miraculous comeback, but then they fell just short of a win against the Cardinals. But the Cardinals are a pretty damn good team right now. And then they absolutely destroy the Falcons, which nobody saw that coming. Both of these teams are starting to turn up right now. I feel like you could expect a good matchup between these two, especially with the Panthers' offense. I feel like there's just so many like potential weapons. Chuba Hubbard and T Mac are questionable, but again, I feel like you can assume they are going to play. But Bryce Young hasn't been playing super bad. He does have 3 interceptions, but I'm pretty sure a lot of those came in the first 2 games. One of them definitely came against the Cardinals, but I think I think he threw 1 interception in each game, so that could be something to look for. Is he's thrown an interception in each game most likely, and that could definitely play into the way this game is played. But I think the Panthers pick up a road win against them. The 49ers, I don't know why it's so tiny, but the Jags at the 49ers, it'd be easy to give the 49ers, or it'd be easy to give the Jaguars the win here because, the 49ers are so hurt. Now Nick Bosa's out. You're just down to Ricky Pearsall, CMC, and Mac Jones. It's not looking pretty for the 49ers. They're very hurt right now. But I don't think the Jaguars are that crazy good of a team. You look at who they've played, no one really special. The Panthers kind of turning up. Bengals, they lost to. Bengals don't look good right now. Now, granted, Joe Burrow went out halfway through that game, and Jake Browning threw like 3 interceptions. The Jaguars losing that is bad. And then they beat the Texans, but the Texans don't look too pretty either. 49ers are on a different level than them, even with their backups. There's so many good players on the 49ers, and it's at the 49ers. And this is Mac Jones' former team. I think you can expect the 49ers to win this one. Close, but I think you can expect them to win. Colts at Rams. I'm going with the Colts, man. The Rams last week should have packed things up and put it away against the Eagles. They didn't. Daniel Jones is playing like absolutely lights out. The Rams don't have like the best defense in the world. I don't even think Daniel Jones has thrown an interception yet. Yeah, it doesn't look like he has. Jonathan Taylor is playing like really good right now. The Colts offense is going to be extremely hard for the Rams to stop. Honestly, I might have gone too low scoring in this one, but I feel like the Rams will play competitively. You still have Puka Nacua, who is playing probably his best season, off to his best start. He is just completely and utterly the receiving production for the Rams. Matthew Stafford has 739 yards, 333 that is Puka. That is just pretty ridiculous if you ask me. So you can expect him to have a great game. You can honestly expect the Rams offense to move. Devontae Adams is also playing really good. I didn't really think he was going to be the best thing at the Rams, but he's actually playing really good at the Rams. And Kyren Williams is always a good running back. Matthew Stafford in his last season, he's having some struggles, but Colts at Rams, I got the Colts. Ravens at Chiefs. I don't know why my dog is going crazy. I hope you guys can't hear that, but Ravens at Chiefs, I got the Ravens starting off 1-3, man. Little T, man. I got the Ravens starting off 1-3. Baltimore is actually favored in this game, which is kind of crazy. I like the Ravens offense. It's definitely a super good offense. D-Hop, even as old as he is, has actually played really well there. And maybe D-Hop will go crazy as he played on the Chiefs last year. But the Chiefs have a pretty damn good defense, and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And overall, the Ravens don't have a good defense. It's at the Chiefs. I feel like you could expect the Chiefs to win this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens do manage to pick up a win here. And if the Chiefs start off 1-3, that's going to get a little scary. Bears at Raiders. I'm going to take the Bears here against the Raiders. The Raiders are favored by 1.5, which makes sense because, it makes sense because it's their home stadium. But Caleb Williams had his best game of his career against the Cowboys. He's coming off a heater. I feel like the Bears feel good right now. And I feel like they're going to be a very hard thing to stop offensively, at least for like a little bit. They might just go 3 drives in a row of scoring points. And the Raiders, Geno Smith likes to play good some drives. He likes to throw interceptions some drives. You just can't ever tell with Geno. And I think the Raiders are gonna just lose because they turn the ball over, like a interception and a fumble. Bears have like an interception, and that'll be the difference in the game. Packers at Cowboys. Packers obviously coming off one of the biggest scam wins in the history of the NFL. I mean, that shit is just crazy. But they're playing the Cowboys. Cowboys have not looked good. I think the Packers defense is just going to shut down the Cowboys. The Cowboys win this. Something is blowing up in Packerville. Jets at Dolphins. Really, really insanely highly talented game we have here. The Jets are coming off of a heartbreaker, starting off 0-3 again. Actually, I think the Jets haven't started off like 0-3 in a couple years. I feel like they always win one early, but then they just fall apart from that point on. Dolphins desperately looking for a win. You know, they played really good against the Bills, and they played good against the Patriots. Jets, you know, barely lost to the Buccaneers, but they had to come all the way back in that game. I'm going to take the Dolphins here, and I actually think the Jets will be leading for most of this, but the Dolphins will score a touchdown on like 4th and goal with 14 seconds left or something, like they typically do. I'm going to take the Dolphins to win this one. Bengals at Broncos. Yeah, Bengals are just hurt, and they looked horrible against the Vikings. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, one game does not determine how every game is going to be played, but the Broncos have a better defense than the Vikings. That's not crazy to say. And Bo Nix has been struggling a little bit, and the Broncos' offense ultimately has been struggling a little bit, and the Broncos ultimately are starting off 1-2. It's not what they envisioned starting this year, especially since they're losing games by 3 or less points. So you can expect them to win this game, but the offensive struggles, I assume, will continue unless they decide to just turn up the engine and destroy him. But that is our last game for Week 3 predictions. A like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. That's all from me. Adios.